I never thought my own blood would send me away like a stranger. At 71, I had lived in my house for over 40 years. Every corner held a memory of Robert, my late husband, of birthdays, anniversaries, the roses we planted by the porch. I thought I would grow old here quietly with dignity. Then my grandson Daniel moved in. It started innocently enough. He called me one spring afternoon. "Grandma," he said, his voice gentle, "you shouldn't be living all alone. Let me come stay with you. I can help with groceries, the yard, everything Grandpa used to do." My heart swelled. Daniel was my only grandson, the last piece of my son who had passed too young. The thought of having him close again felt like a blessing. Of course I said yes. First it was wonderful. He brought life back into the house, footsteps on the stairs, laughter drifting from the kitchen. He even fixed the leaky faucet Robert had never gotten around to repairing. "See, Grandma," he'd grin. "You're not alone anymore." I would sit in my chair knitting, smiling at the sound of him moving about. I told myself Robert must be smiling too, proud that our grandson had stepped up. But little by little things changed. Daniel started handling the mail before I could get to it. He insisted on paying bills online, telling me I didn't need to worry about those anymore. He asked about my bank accounts, my pension, how much the house was worth. When I hesitated, he chuckled. "Relax, Grandma. I'm just making sure everything's secure. You trust me, don't you?" Of course I said yes. Because he was family. One evening, as we sat down to dinner, Daniel set his fork down and looked at me seriously. "Grandma, have you ever thought about how hard this house is to maintain? The stairs, the yard, it's too much. You could fall one day and no one would know. Wouldn't it be better if you had care 24 hours a day?" I frowned. "I'm fine here, Daniel. This is my home." He leaned closer. "I'm not saying today. Just think about it. A nursing home might be the safest option. And meanwhile, I could take care of the house for you." My stomach tightened. His words sounded kind, but his eyes lingered too long on the walls, the furniture, the photographs. That night I couldn't sleep. Robert's photo sat on my nightstand, his eyes steady as if reminding me, "Be careful, Margaret. Trust is earned, not given." The next morning, Daniel brought me coffee with a bright smile. "Morning, Grandma. Did you think about what I said? A nursing home would give you company, meals, doctors on site. You wouldn't have to worry about anything." I forced a smile, my hands trembling around the mug. "I'll think about it." But inside fear churned. Because for the first time, I wondered if Daniel hadn't moved in to help me at all. Maybe he had moved in to take everything Robert and I had built. Before I go on, let me ask you something. Where are you listening from? A small town like mine or a big city far away? Let me know in the comments, I'd love to hear. And if family stories like this touch your heart, don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss what happens next. The following week, Daniel became almost relentless. Every meal, every quiet evening, he slipped the same thought into our conversations. "Grandma, I worry about you when I'm at work. What if you fell? What if you couldn't reach the phone? Or, wouldn't it be nice to have friends your own age around? You'd have people to talk to, activities, nurses always ready to help." I smiled weakly, nodding, but each word felt like a crack spreading through the walls of my home. One Saturday morning, he appeared at my bedroom door, already dressed in a crisp shirt and jacket. "Come on, Grandma," he said brightly. "We're going for a little drive." I blinked. "Where to?" He grinned. It's a surprise." An uneasy chill ran down my spine. We drove 30 minutes out of town, past the familiar streets into a quiet neighborhood I barely recognized. At last he pulled into a wide driveway with a polished sign, "Sunrise Haven Nursing and Care." My breath caught. "Daniel, what is this?" He jumped out, hurrying around to open my door. "Just a tour, Grandma. No pressure. I just want you to see how wonderful it could be." Inside, the building gleamed with fresh paint and polished floors. A smiling young woman greeted us, handing me a brochure. "Mrs. Hayes, welcome. We're so glad you're here. Let me show you around." She led us through bright hallways where elderly residents played cards or watched television. The smell of disinfectant clung to the air. "This is our dining area," she said cheerfully. "We serve 3 meals a day, balanced and nutritious." Daniel chimed in, his voice warm. "See, Grandma? No more cooking. You could relax." We passed a room with 2 narrow beds. A frail woman sat staring out the window, her face empty. Something in me twisted. This wasn't home. It was a waiting room for the forgotten. Back in the lobby, the young woman pressed a form into Daniel's hands. If you're interested, we have availability immediately. Just some signatures needed. My heart pounded. Immediately? Daniel slipped the paper into his jacket, smiling at me. Think about it, Grandma. Doesn't it seem nice? Safe. I forced a smile, but my hands trembled. I'll think. On the drive home, silence stretched heavy between us. He hummed along to the radio while my eyes blurred with tears. Robert and I had built our life in that house brick by brick. And now my grandson was planning to tuck me away in a room with strangers, just so he could claim it for himself. That night, as he moved around the kitchen whistling, I sat in my chair, clutching Robert's photograph. Robert, I whispered, he's not here to take care of me. He's here to take everything. What do I do? The house creaked in reply, as if my husband's spirit was still there, urging me to be strong. Later, Daniel poked his head into the living room. Grandma, tomorrow I'll bring some of the paperwork home. No rush, of course. But I think you'll see it's the right choice. His smile was soft, but his eyes, those eyes I once trusted, burned with determination. I nodded faintly, but inside, dread hollowed me out. As I finally understood, Daniel hadn't moved in to help me grow old gracefully. He had moved in to take my future, my freedom, and the only place I could still call home. The next morning, I woke to find Daniel already at the dining table, a neat stack of papers in front of him. His coffee mug steamed beside it, and his expression was calm, too calm. Morning, Grandma, he said cheerfully. I thought we'd go over some things today. I froze in the doorway. What things? He tapped the stack. Just paperwork. Admissions forms, medical releases. Nothing scary. If we get this done now, everything will be easier later. My stomach dropped. Later? Sooner. I sat down slowly, my hands trembling in my lap. Daniel slid the top sheet toward me, a pen balanced on the edge. This one just says you're transferring responsibility to me so I can sign things for you. Insurance, bills, that kind of stuff. It'll make life so much simpler. I stared at the words on the page, the neat lines of legal print. My name printed at the top. Blank spaces waiting for my signature. Daniel, I whispered, I don't think I'm ready. His smile tightened. Grandma, don't be stubborn. I'm trying to help. Do you really want to risk falling here alone with no one around? What happens if I'm not home? I've been fine for years, I murmured. He leaned closer, his voice low, firm. You're not fine. And you know it. Don't make this harder than it needs to be. I pushed the paper back toward him. I'll think about it. His jaw clenched. You keep saying that. But thinking doesn't solve anything. For a moment I saw a flash of anger in his eyes, sharp and cold. Then he forced a smile, gathering the papers. Fine. Tomorrow then. But don't wait too long, Grandma. Time's not on your side. When he left for work, I sat staring at the empty table, my chest tight. Robert's photo on the mantel seemed to watch me as though begging me to fight. I needed help. So I reached for the phone and dialed the only person I trusted, Mrs. Carter, my neighbor of 40 years. She answered on the second ring. Margaret? Are you all right? My voice shook. No. He's pushing me, Ruth. Papers, signatures, the nursing home. He won't stop. She was quiet for a moment, then said firmly, You can't face this alone. Come by this afternoon. We'll figure something out. Later, I shuffled down the street to her little blue house. She welcomed me in with open arms and hot tea. I knew something was wrong when he stopped waving at me from the porch, she muttered. Boys with secrets never meet your eye. Tears spilled over. He's my grandson, Ruth. My only grandson. How could he do this? He squeezed my hand. Greed is a terrible thing, Margaret. But listen, you still have rights. He can't force you into a home without your consent. If he keeps pressing, you need someone on your side. I wiped my cheeks. Who? There's a lawyer downtown, she said. Helped my sister when her kids tried to take her savings. I'll give you his card. I slipped the card into my purse, my heart pounding with both fear and hope. That evening, Daniel came home whistling, the stack of papers tucked under his arm. Ready for round 2, Grandma? He asked lightly. I forced a smile, hiding the card in my pocket. Maybe tomorrow, dear. Tonight I'm too tired. His eyes narrowed just for a second, then he shrugged. All right. Tomorrow. As he walked away, I pressed my hand to Robert's photo, whispering into the quiet room. I'll fight Robert. Somehow I'll fight. He thinks he has me cornered. But I'm not done yet. The next morning, Daniel hovered over me like a shadow. Don't forget, Grandma, he said as he set my tea on the table. We'll finish that paperwork today. No more delays. I forced a smile, my fingers tight around the mug. Of course, dear. Inside my mind spun. I couldn't sign. Not now, not ever. If I did, I'd lose everything Robert and I had built. When Daniel left for work, I grabbed my purse and slipped out the back door, my heart racing like I was a criminal in my own home. Downtown, the law office was small but tidy. A brass plaque on the door read, Thomas Keller, Elder Law Attorney. Inside, a kind-eyed man in his 60s rose from behind the desk. Mrs. Hayes? Please, sit down. I laid the folded papers Daniel had pushed at me across his desk. He adjusted his glasses, reading carefully. His brow furrowed. This isn't just consent for medical care. This is a durable power of attorney. If you sign this, your grandson gains full control over your finances, your property, even decisions about where you live. My breath caught. So he could put me in a nursing home, sell the house without asking me? Keller nodded gravely. Exactly. You'd have no legal standing to stop him. Once signed, it's final. Tears welled in my eyes. He's my grandson. I thought he came to help me. The lawyer's voice softened. Mrs. Hayes, I've seen too many families torn apart by this. Trust is precious, but so is your independence. You don't have to fight this alone. He explained steps I could take. Revoke any documents Daniel had already filed, lock my accounts, and, if necessary, file a restraining order. You still have time, he assured me. But you must be careful. He may try to pressure you harder once he realizes you've sought advice. I nodded, clutching the papers back to my chest. Thank you. I won't let him take my life from me. When I returned home, Daniel was already waiting at the door, his smile sharp as glass. Where'd you go, Grandma? He asked, his tone too casual. I hesitated. Just to see Ruth. She wanted company. His eyes narrowed, searching my face. Funny. I stopped by Mrs. Carter's on my lunch break. She wasn't home. My heart lurched. Maybe you just missed her. He studied me for a moment, then let out a low chuckle. You're not lying to me, are you, Grandma? That wouldn't be wise. That evening, he hovered as I cooked dinner, glancing at my phone when I set it on the counter. At one point, I caught him thumbing through the mail before I could reach it. You don't need to worry about this stuff, he said quickly, stuffing an envelope into his pocket. I've got it handled. But the walls of my home felt smaller now, like a cage. Later that night, when he finally shut himself in his room, I sat by Robert's photo, whispering into the silence. He's closing in, Robert. He watches me, questions me, even takes my mail. He thinks I'm weak. I touched the lawyer's card hidden deep in my purse. But I'm not done yet. I'll fight. I swear I'll fight. The candle flickered on the mantel, casting shadows like Robert's steady hands guiding mine. And for the first time I felt a flicker of strength push back against the fear. The next morning I found Daniel in the kitchen again, the same neat stack of papers waiting on the table. Only this time his tone wasn't soft. Enough delays, Grandma, he said flatly. We're going to finish this today. I steadied my breath. Daniel, I told you I'm not ready. He slammed his palm against the table, making the coffee mugs rattle. Not ready? You think you can keep putting this off forever? You're old, Grandma. You can't live like this anymore. Don't you get it? I'm the only one who cares enough to handle things for you. My heart pounded, but I forced my voice calm. Caring doesn't mean forcing. His eyes darkened. Sometimes it does. For the first time I saw something in his face I didn't recognize. Not the little boy who once held my hand, not the young man who used to kiss my cheek at Christmas. Something colder. Calculating. I excused myself, clutching my shawl, and went into the study. My hands trembled as I opened the drawer where I had hidden the small recorder Mr. Keller had given me. From now on, every word Daniel said would be captured. That evening as we sat at dinner he tried a different tactic. Grandma, he said, his voice honey-sweet, think about how much easier life would be for you. No bills, no chores, no worries. Just peace. Don't you want that? I pressed the recorder in my pocket, my hands steady under the table. Peace isn't found in a nursing home, Daniel. Peace is found in your own home with your memories. His smile thinned. Memories won't pay the bills. Memories won't keep you safe. Later, I overheard him on the phone in the hallway. His voice was low, urgent. Yes, the house is worth plenty. She's just being stubborn. Once she signs, it's mine. Don't worry, I'll get it done. I pressed my back against the wall, the recorder still running. Every word was another nail in the coffin of his lies. When he noticed me listening, his expression turned sharp. Were you eavesdropping, Grandma? I forced a small laugh. Just passing by. He stepped closer, lowering his voice. Don't play games with me. You'll sign. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow. But you will. And if you don't, you'll regret it. That night I sat in my bedroom, tears slipping down my cheeks. Robert's photo seemed to glow in the candlelight. He's threatening me, Robert, I whispered. Our grandson is threatening me. But then I touched the recorder, still warm in my hand, and felt a spark of courage. I won't give in. Not yet. I'll gather everything. And when the time comes, I'll stop him. The next morning, Daniel greeted me with forced cheer as though the night before had never happened. Big day today, Grandma, he said, sliding the papers toward me again. Let's make it official. I smiled faintly, hiding the recorder in my lap. All right, Daniel. Let's talk about it. And as his voice filled the room, smooth and coaxing, I pressed the button once more. Because I was no longer just his prey. I was preparing my defense. The following afternoon, when Daniel left for work, I hurried down the street, clutching my purse tight against my chest. Inside was the small recorder, its little memory card filled with his words, his threats, his lies. By the time I reached Mr. Keller's office, my knees ached, but my resolve carried me forward. He looked up from his desk as I entered. Mrs. Hayes, you look pale. Did something happen? I set the recorder down, my hands trembling. I did what you said. I recorded him. Keller pressed the button and Daniel's voice filled the room. You'll sign. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow. But you will. And if you don't, you'll regret it. When the recording ended, silence hung in the office. Keller's jaw tightened. That's enough. With this, plus the documents he's been pushing, we can go straight to the authorities. Elder abuse, coercion, attempted fraud, he won't get away with this. Tears burned my eyes. He's my grandson, Mr. Keller. My only grandson. I never wanted to see him in trouble. But I can't let him take everything. Keller leaned forward, his voice gentle but firm. Sometimes protecting yourself means making the hardest choices. Do you want me to contact the police? I hesitated, my heart heavy. Not yet. Let's wait. I need to see what he'll do next. But if he pushes me again, I'll be ready. That night, Daniel returned home later than usual. His smile was wide, too wide. Good news, Grandma, he said, tossing his jacket onto the chair. I spoke with the director at Sunrise Haven. They have a room ready for you this week. My stomach turned to ice. This week? He nodded. Yes. They'll handle everything. All we need is your signature. Isn't that wonderful? I forced a shaky smile. That's fast. His eyes narrowed slightly. Time isn't something you have much of, Grandma. Better to do this now while you're still able. The words cut deeper than any knife. Later, I crept into the study, shutting the door behind me. I slipped the recorder from my pocket and pressed play, listening to his newest words. Cold, calculated. Another piece of proof. But my chest ached as I thought of the little boy he used to be. The boy who once ran barefoot in the yard, sticky with ice cream, calling for me to watch him chase fireflies. That boy was gone. In his place stood a man who looked at me and saw not a grandmother, but a set of keys, a deed, and a house. The next morning, Daniel was all charm again. He made pancakes, humming as if nothing had happened. Grandma, he said sweetly, I know you're nervous, but once you settle in at Sunrise Haven, you'll thank me. You'll have friends, nurses, everything you need. I nodded, my recorder hidden in my pocket. Perhaps you're right. We'll see. He smiled, satisfied. But he didn't know that with every word he spoke, with every threat wrapped in sugar, I was building my case. And soon I would no longer be the one cornered. That evening I called Keller from Mrs. Carter's phone so Daniel couldn't trace it. I have more recordings, I whispered. He's trying to move me this week. Keller's voice was steady. Hold on, Margaret. Don't sign anything. Don't leave that house. I'll contact the authorities. The next time he pushes, we'll be there. As I hung up, my hands trembled, but not from fear alone. For the first time, I felt something else stir inside me. Strength. Daniel thought I was powerless, a weak old woman he could shuffle away. But he had underestimated me, and he was about to learn the truth. By Thursday morning, Daniel's patience had run out. He barged into my bedroom without knocking, his jacket already on, car keys jingling in his hand. "Get dressed, Grandma," he ordered. "We're going to Sunrise Haven. Today." My heart lurched. "Today? Daniel, I haven't even packed." "You won't need much," he snapped. "They'll provide everything. Let's go." His voice left no room for argument. But I forced myself to stay calm, to remember Keller's words. "Hold on, Margaret. Help is coming." I moved slowly, pretending to fumble with my shawl. "At least let me bring Robert's photo," I whispered. Daniel sighed impatiently. "Fine. But hurry." Downstairs, he shoved the stack of papers into my hands. "Sign these now, so we don't waste time later." I held the pen, my fingers trembling, but I didn't sign. Instead, I looked up at him, meeting his eyes. "Daniel," I said softly, "is this really about helping me? Or is it about the house?" For a second, the mask slipped. His jaw clenched, his eyes cold. "You think I want to waste my best years babysitting an old woman? The house is mine, Grandma. With or without your blessing." The recorder hidden in my pocket captured every word. My pulse raced, but I forced a steady breath. "Robert would be ashamed of you," I whispered. "Robert's gone," Daniel snapped. "And soon so will you." Before he could drag me to the door, there was a knock. Firm. Daniel froze. Slowly he opened it. 2 uniformed officers stood on the porch, with Keller right behind them. "Daniel Parker?" one officer said. "We need to speak with you." Daniel's face went pale. "What's this about?" Keller stepped forward, holding up a folder. Evidence of attempted fraud, coercion, and elder abuse. Multiple recordings. Documents with forged intent. Daniel's voice rose. "She's lying. She's confused. You can't trust her." I stepped forward, my voice shaking but clear. "I'm not confused, Daniel. I know exactly what you've been doing." The officers moved in, reading him his rights as they pulled the papers from his hands. Daniel thrashed, shouting, "You can't do this. She wanted to go. She begged me to help her." "No, Daniel," I said, tears filling my eyes. "All I ever begged for was your love. And you traded it for greed." His eyes blazed with fury as the cuffs clicked shut. "You'll regret this, Grandma. You'll regret it." They led him out, his shouts echoing down the street. Inside, I collapsed into the nearest chair, trembling. Keller placed a steady hand on my shoulder. "It's over, Margaret. He can't hurt you anymore." Tears slid down my cheeks. "He was my grandson, Tom. My only grandson." Keller's voice softened. "I know. But you saved yourself. And maybe, just maybe, this will save him too, someday." That night, the house was silent again. No footsteps upstairs. No humming in the kitchen. I sat by Robert's photo, lighting a candle. "I stopped him, Robert," I whispered. "But at what cost? I kept the house. I kept our life. But I lost him." The flame flickered, shadows dancing across the walls we had built together. And I knew this was not the end of my grief. Only the beginning of a different kind. The courthouse felt colder than any place I'd ever been. The high ceilings, the echo of footsteps on marble floors, it all pressed down on me as I sat on the hard wooden bench. Across the room, Daniel sat in a pressed suit, hands cuffed in front of him. His eyes darted to mine for the briefest moment. No warmth, no remorse. Just defiance. "Case of State versus Daniel Parker," the bailiff called. My chest tightened. Hearing his name like that, my grandson's name, in a criminal trial, it was a wound deeper than any knife. The prosecutor presented the evidence methodically. The forged papers, the visits to Sunrise Haven, the recordings of Daniel's threats. The courtroom filled with his voice, cold and undeniable. "You'll sign. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow. But you will. And if you don't, you'll regret it." Gasps rippled through the gallery. I closed my eyes, wishing I could unhear it, wishing I could go back to the boy who once chased fireflies in my yard. When it was my turn, I took the stand. My knees trembled, but I held my head high. "Mrs. Hayes," the prosecutor asked gently, "did your grandson pressure you to sign over control of your home and affairs?" I swallowed hard. Yes. He told me it was for my safety. But when I resisted, he threatened me. He said I would regret it. The defense attorney tried to twist my words. Mrs. Hayes, isn't it true your grandson was simply concerned for your well-being? That he suggested the nursing home out of love. Tears filled my eyes. Love doesn't threaten. Love doesn't steal. He didn't want to take care of me, he wanted to take everything I had left. Daniel shifted in his chair, his jaw tight, but he said nothing. By the time closing arguments ended, the truth was plain for all to see. The judge's gavel struck. Daniel Parker, guilty of attempted fraud, coercion, and elder abuse. Sentenced to 5 years in state prison. The words hung in the air like a heavy stone. 5 years. My grandson would spend his youth behind bars. As the guards led him away, his eyes met mine again. For a heartbeat, I thought I saw something flicker. Fear, maybe even regret. But then he turned, shoulders rigid, and the moment was gone. Afterward, Keller walked me to the steps outside. The late afternoon sun painted the courthouse in golden light, but I felt no warmth. You did the right thing, Margaret, he said gently. You protected yourself. And you may have saved others from him too. I nodded, though my throat ached with unshed tears. I saved the house, yes. But I lost my grandson. I don't know how to live with that. Keller's eyes softened. By remembering you didn't push him to this, he chose it. And by remembering that you're still here, Margaret. Still standing. That night, I returned to my empty house. I lit a candle beside Robert's photo, the flame wavering against the dark. I kept it safe, Robert, I whispered. The house, our memories. But I couldn't keep him. Our grandson is gone. The silence pressed in, heavy and unrelenting. I sat alone in the flickering light, realizing that even though justice had been served, my heart had been broken in ways no gavel could ever mend. The days after the trial stretched long and quiet. The house, though safe, felt emptier than it ever had. I walked from room to room, running my fingers along the walls Robert had painted, the shelves he had built. Every creak of the floorboards reminded me of Ethan's footsteps. No Daniel's. The boy who had once filled this house with laughter now left behind only echoes of betrayal. I had won. But it felt nothing like victory. Neighbors stopped by with casseroles and soft words. You were brave, Margaret, Mrs. Carter told me one afternoon. You stood up for yourself when many wouldn't have. I smiled faintly, thanking her, but inside my heart still ached. Because bravery didn't keep me warm at night. Bravery didn't bring back the grandson I had lost long before the gavel fell. One evening, I found myself sitting in Daniel's old room. The bed was unmade, the closet door half open. On the desk lay a dusty baseball glove, one he had used as a child. I picked it up, tracing the worn leather with trembling fingers. Where did you go, Daniel? I whispered into the silence. When did greed steal you from me? No answer came, only the sound of the wind against the window. Still, life has a way of carrying us forward, even when our hearts resist. I planted new roses in the garden that spring, though my knees ached and the soil was stubborn. Each bloom felt like a promise, to Robert, to myself, that this house would remain alive no matter who tried to take it. Mrs. Carter often joined me, chatting about her grandchildren. Sometimes I smiled, sometimes I cried. She never judged either. One Sunday, I lit a candle by Robert's photo as I always did. I kept it safe, Robert, I murmured. The house, our life. But I couldn't keep him. He chose another path. I don't know if I'll ever forgive him, but I'll try. Because if I don't, the bitterness will take what's left of me. The flame flickered, steady and warm. And in that moment I felt the faintest shift inside me. Not happiness, not yet. But a kind of peace, fragile but real. Weeks later, I received a letter from Daniel. It was short, written in uneven handwriting from the prison. Grandma, I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't even forgive myself. I just want you to know. I'm sorry. Tears blurred the words. I pressed the paper to my chest, sobbing. Not because it fixed anything, but because it reminded me that somewhere inside him, beneath the greed, the boy I once knew still flickered. That night, I sat on the porch, watching the roses sway in the evening breeze. I had my home. I had my memories. And though my heart bore scars that would never fade, I had something else too, the strength to keep living. Because I had survived betrayal. I had survived loneliness. And I was still here. Still standing. Thank you for staying with me through this story. Life can be hard, but no one should ever face betrayal alone. If this story touched your heart, please share where you're watching from in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe so you'll never miss more stories like this. Stories that remind us how strong we can be, even in our darkest hours.